morning, everyone. I hope you all can hear me. My name is Wheeler Winstead, and I am the Assistant Director for the Center for African Studies here at Howard University. And welcome to our second information session on the Foreign Language and Area Studies Fellowships, and also a conversation with Dr. Muwaka and Dr. Amolala regarding the GPA program. So thank you so much for coming. This is going to be a 1-hour session. We will do the slides first, and then afterwards we'll take questions because I believe most of your questions are going to be answered through the slides that we're going to share. So why don't I go ahead and get started? I'll share my slide here. And if you can make me host. I'll go ahead and share. Okay, so again, this is the information session on foreign language and area study fellowships, and also information on African language fellowships. So begin, if everyone could please mute your mic and turn off your video. Questions and comments, if you could please put those in the chat box. There should be time for questions at the end. So basically what we're going to do is give you a little information on the Center for African Studies. We're going to talk about the FLAS Fellowships, Foreign Language and Area Studies. And we're also going to talk about the application for those, receiving those fellowships. And then we're going to have information on African language fellowships from Dr. Muwaka and Dr. Amolala. So the Center for African Studies is a comprehensive Title VI resource center, and it's funded by the Department of Education. And we support African-related teaching and resource across departments in Howard. We are one of 10 national resource centers in the country, and we provide foreign language and area studies fellowships for both the academic year and the summer, both tuition and stipend support. So no matter what I say, I'm going to encourage all of you, if you have not gone to the center's website, to please go and visit the center's website for more information about both the center and FLAS. So let's talk about FLAS. So we are now in the year, the FLAS Fellowship year 2021 and 2022. The application deadline for both the summer 2021 and academic year 21-22 FLAS fellowships is the December 7th. That's when the applications are the open, where the website is open to receive your applications. And February 15th, 2021, the application period will close. Again, the application period is open right now, December 7th, and will close February 15th, 2021. That is for both summer 2021 fellowships and academic year 21-22. So the languages that we offer fellowships for at Howard are Amharic, Arabic, Somali, Swahili, Wolof, Yoruba, and Zulu. This is specifically for the academic year, and we'll talk about the summer separately. But again, these are the languages that you could use your FLAS fellowships for at Howard: Amharic, Arabic, Somali, Swahili, Wolof, Yoruba, and Zulu. So the FLAS fellowships are both for academic year and summer fellowships. They are for both the graduate and undergraduate students. So for the academic year, a graduate student can receive an $18,000 tuition, and a $15,000 stipend for a total of $33,000. So the tuition has to be used for tuition and tuition-related expenses. However, the stipend can be used for whatever living expenses the student has. The undergraduates can receive a $10,000 tuition award and a $5,000 stipend for a maximum $15,000. Again, this is for the entire year. So you divide that in half is what can be applied for each semester. For the summer, both the graduate and undergraduate students can receive up to a $5,000 tuition award and a $2,500 stipend for living expenses. And I say up to $5,000 because if your tuition is less than that, then you will receive less than that and you will not receive the balance. So here are the general eligibility requirements for FLAS. And again, these eligibility requirements apply to both the summer and the academic year fellowships. First, you need to have a clear promise of completing your academic program. In other words, you're not ready to drop out or to be expelled for any reason or to drop out because of academic reasons. You got to have a plan to utilize your language for your career in somehow. So you need to include something about how you're going to use your language. You should have an excellent academic record as evidenced by your GPA and letter of recommendation. Excellent doesn't mean you have to have a 4.0, but you should not be failing. You have to demonstrate a financial need. And specifically, you may not be receiving concurrent federal support from other sources except for loans and work study. And it doesn't mean you can't receive other fellowships. It means that you specifically cannot receive other federal support other than loans and work study. And you also must be willing to comply with the U.S. Department of Education requirement, which includes being a part of the FLAS Fellow Group, surveyed every year for a period of 8 years. Okay. More eligibility requirements. You have to be a full-time graduate or undergraduate student, and students from other universities can apply for FLAS fellowships. However, first preference will be given to Howard University students. You must be a U.S. citizen or a national or permanent resident, and you have to propose a course that includes both an African language and an African area study non-language course for each semester. In other words, if you only want to use it one semester, you will not qualify. You must include both an African language and an African area studies course in both your fall and spring. FLAS fellowships can only be allotted to students in the intermediate or advanced levels. This is very important. So if you've never taken an African language before, you would not be eligible for an academic year fellowship. So if you are interested in taking an academic year fellowship, you should consider at least taking a class in the spring or the summer. Otherwise, you will not be eligible for a fall academic year fellowship. It is only for students in the intermediate or advanced levels. There are some exceptions for graduate students. All overseas program requests must be approved by the program officer of the U.S. Department of Education. So you can, in fact, get a FLAS fellowship and study somewhere other than Howard. However, for the academic year, you must be registered at Howard. FLAS fellowships can be used for independent studies. Um, Obviously, you're not going to be eligible for independent study unless you have normally completed all of the other required language courses. But if you are eligible for independent study, then this particular requirement has to be approved by the program officer at the Department of Education. Therefore, you will have to submit this information, which we also submit to the Department of Education to have your independent study course approved. You got to submit a syllabus, and that syllabus must contain the content and context of the independent study, course objectives, course requirements, standards for evaluating the student, schedule of assignments and deliverables, bibliography, the instructor's curriculum vitae, and an explanation as to why an independent study is necessary. So again, an independent study, or as it says, the directed reading may be used to fulfill the area studies course requirements or a language. However, this independent study course must be submitted for approval by the program officer at the Department of Education. So the exception that there exists for languages exists for graduate students at the beginning level of a commonly taught language. In other words, if they have already if they are already have achieved advanced proficiency in another language, and if that second language is required. So you can begin, a graduate student can begin at a beginning level, can start at a beginning level if they have achieved advanced proficiency in another language of the world language, world area specialization, and if learning a second language of that world area is required. Otherwise, graduate students and undergraduate students must begin at advanced level. So this is the only exception that the Department of Education will allow graduate students to begin at a beginning level if they have achieved this particular exception. So let's talk about the summer. So it's important to understand that FLASC is, for the summer and for the academic year, is simply a financial resource. The student must choose their own program of study. Howard has a number of programs for summer that you can apply for, and you're going to hear from the professors who are over those programs. There's the HUSSA, there's the Swahili GPA, and there's the Yoruba GPA. FLAS will pay for program costs. This is again for the summer, and may be used for domestic and an overseas program. And all overseas program must be approved by the Department of Education, and you must receive grades or credits if you for the language course. So you can't simply take it for your own enjoyment. You have to receive a grade or and credit for the language. Other requirements. The summer is only for intensive language studies. And this is how they define intensive language. You have to have at least 6 weeks in duration for each course. And you have to have at least 120 contact hours of instruction at the advanced level. Now, the summer does give the beginning student an opportunity to attend and participate, at least in the FLAS. This will be different in GPA. And if you are a beginning student, you must have at least 6 weeks, but must incorporate 140 contact hours of instruction at the beginning and intermediate level of language. Again, this is for intensive language. So most of you are aware of the restrictions that have been placed on travel as a result of COVID. These restrictions have in fact restricted travel for summer 2020 in the past, and they may in fact still have an impact on travel for 2021. So it's important that you understand that travel is uncertain in the next year, 2021. You've got to keep your plans very flexible. Attending programs abroad in the summer or academic year will depend on the development of vaccines, treatments in the coming months, and still going to be subject to the guidance from the U.S. State Department. So there is, again, no guarantee that you'll be able to study abroad for the summer. However, you will hear later that Howard University is in fact planning to offer summer language programs here. So FLAS contact hours and week options. So there are a couple ways you can get your 120, 120, 140 hours. You can attend one program. You can attend more than one program. You can supplement your hours with private tutoring as long as the required total number of hours in week and contact hours is obtained. However, private tutoring, similar to independent study, must be approved. In order to complete the application, you have to first go online at the Center for African Studies site, and that's the link there, and you click on submit the application. And once you do that, you will have to then complete the application online. There are a number of things that will be required in addition to the application. One would be a copy of the confirmation page of your free application for federal student aid, or FAFSA. And we're only asking for the confirmation page. This is a very long report, but we only need your confirmation page. You have to also submit 2 references, and you need to contact your reference before you enter the before their information or shortly afterwards, because the system will generate an automatic email from the online application portal requesting them to complete the referral. So you need to let them know, hey, I've given your name as a reference. Please complete the reference on time. Failure to get your references in on time will mean your application is incomplete. So you need to contact the individuals you're going to use as a reference, letting them know they're going to get an email from the Center for African Studies for a reference for you. You also need a statement of purpose, minimum 500 words. In that statement of purpose, you've got to explain your interest in Africa, African language, how the FLAS award will contribute to your work and your concentration, your research, your professional study, your career in some way. How is this going to contribute? And this is very important. Again, there are a number of times students simply say, I'm just interested in learning an African language. That's great. However, that's not going to get you many points on your scoring criteria. You need to show somehow that studying an African language is going to contribute to your work, to your research, to your career. And specifically, how will you use this language in those areas? And then you must provide a separate statement of purpose for each application. So you can apply for both a summer application, FLAS application, summer FLAS fellowship, and an academic FLAS fellowship. However, you must supply a separate statement of purposes for each. In addition, you have to have a current copy of your transcripts. Official copies are not necessary. You can take a screenshot. If you do take a screenshot, make sure your name is visible and obviously Howard University. You have to provide copies of your registration for both an African language and an African area studies course. Now, it's not necessary that these are provided at the time you complete your application for your academic year. It is understood that most of you, or many of you, will not have registered for the fall by the time you submit your application um, on February 15th, 2021. However, if you are chosen before you will receive your FLAS tuition award or your stipend, you must provide us copies of this of your registration showing both you have registered for African language and an African area studies course. There are lots of African area studies courses, by the way, and if you're looking for a list of them, simply go to the center's website and we have a whole list of the different African area studies course. You also must provide a copy of your resume or CV, 2 pages minimum, and some sort of proof of residence, a copy of the passport, birth certificate, nationalization certificate, certificate of civil citizenship, or your U.S. permanent resident card, or copy of it. If it becomes necessary for you to resign or withdraw during the year for a legitimate and acceptable reason, the award will be prorated on a monthly basis. However, if you have to resign or withdraw and you fail to meet the program guidelines for any reason and your withdrawal or resignation is deemed unacceptable, you will be required to repay all expenses that you receive from the FLAS. And unfortunately, this has happened. What has happened in the past is a student says they're registered for an African area studies course or a language, and then they withdraw. If that happens and you've already received money, you will be required to repay that. So this is what the process looks like for registering. Once you click register on the Center for African Studies site, you'll be taken to another site. And here, if you are a first-time user, you must register. And you come to the site, you click register, and then you simply put the information to register. If you are returning, in other words, you've completed an application in the past, you simply log in. If you've forgotten your password, then you can reset your password. So you do not have to register twice if you've already registered for the FLAS in the past. Once you log in, the applicant lands on the applicant dashboard. And here the program table contains a list of programs to apply for. And basically that list is you're either going to apply for an academic fellowship and a FLAS fellowship. You've got to select which program you're applying for. You come, you select your program, you click it. Next comes 2 important questions, and these are eligibility questions. And you must complete this correctly or you will not. You must be eligible or you will not be allowed to complete an application. So you come to the eligibility questions, you answer them, you click save, and you move on. And basically, you must be a full-time student and you must be in advanced year. If those 2 are not clicked yes, you will not be eligible. There are exceptions. If that is the case, you simply email me if you're a graduate student and you can move on. If you're deemed eligible, the application will be given access. The applicant will be given access to the remainder of the forms. You must fill out all the mandatory forms and then press submit as final, and then your application will be submitted. However, we do understand that you will submit it and your references may not have come in. You complete all the application yourself. Once the references submit their references for you, then the application will be final. You don't have to go back in and resubmit it. If deemed ineligible, the applicant will not be able, you will not be able to submit the application. And then if you have any question, you simply contact me, the program administrator. Applications that are incomplete can be saved as drafts. So you don't have to complete your application all at the same time. You can start your application now and come back later with the understanding that it must be completed by February the 15th, 2021. Okay. Again, ignore that date there. That's just for illustration. The application close date for the academic year is February 15th, 2021. So if you get started, you can always come back and complete it later. After all the mandatory fields are completed, you should submit the application as final. This is also the place where you can withdraw if you choose to. So there is more information on our website. I encourage you to go there if you have any other questions. There is also an FAQ, frequently asked questions, where a lot of your questions are already going to be answered there on the website. And again, you feel free to contact me if you have any questions. I am going to warn you, don't call me the day before the application is due, or submit it and give me an email the day before the application is due, because you probably will not get the answer you're looking for as quickly as you need. So you have plenty of time. Start your application. Make sure you finish it in time. Thank you. Now we're going to go to the other summer African language programs. We're going to start with the Howard University Swahili Study Abroad program, the HUSSA, and then we're going to have information on the Swahili Group Project Aboard by Dr. Mwaka, and then the Yoruba Group Project Aboard GPA by Dr. Omolola. Again, the dates for all of these 2021 programs will be announced soon. So, Dr. Mwaka?
Very good. How are you? You doing okay? I actually want to, can you hear me? You should be able to hear me.
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, very good. So I just want to thank everybody who has joined us this morning. I just want to emphasize one thing before I talk about the other programs. Number one, that we're looking for people who are committed to African studies and African languages. So if you happen to be the lucky one to receive the FLAS, please be sure that you are committed to the course for which we are all intending, which is to focus on African studies in whatever area. It could be scientific, it could be in the humanities or social sciences, but the critical point is that your focus and interest is in those areas. So your statement of purpose has to clearly state that and show that we are looking for you in the future for such tasks. Now, the World Languages Department, where we house all the languages that are taught at Howard, has 7 African languages. Now, all of these languages have study abroad, but these languages do have a focus on Africa, and therefore you can get FLAS even for the local programs. I will talk about HUSSA. HUSSA is Howard University Swahili Study Abroad in Swahili language. It is a program that takes 6 weeks. The 6 weeks are divided between Kenya and Tanzania. The most important thing to understand that it is intensive, it is community-based. We anticipate that those who will join the program are going to be able to take courses that are worth 1 academic year. So in the 6 weeks, you'll be able to cover an entire academic year, and you'll come back speaking the language and perhaps being able to proceed to other levels. HUSSA takes students from 001 all the way up to advanced. So no matter where you are, you will be accepted. It is a very enriching program, and I encourage all of you, if you are interested, to begin thinking about it. You need to plan ahead of time. We will be using Qualtrics, which is a form that you complete. Once it's ready, it will be, a link will be on the African Studies Center website. But as Dr. Wheeler Winsett has already told you, we're still working on the dates. We're doing this because of the pandemic, and we're trying to see the best time. So in collaboration with the Department of Education, what some of the guidelines that they are giving, we're working to make sure that we do this. However, the dates that will appear will still be tentative. So again, be flexible as you plan, but hopefully we can make it happen. Now, as the screen shows, what you will be doing is to learn about the cultures of the people of East Africa. You'll also be learning how to interact with people. So cross-cultural information will be given to you. We will be going to different historic sites as well as cultural sites that are critical and that explain the experiences of the people of East Africa. Yes, Swahili is one major language in Eastern Central Africa. It's spoken by more than 150 million people. Now, these people are spread across about 12 countries. So, but we focus on the core area where Swahili begins. The Swahili cities, the Mombasa, Zanzibar, Kilwa, those areas, not Kilwa, sorry to say that, but those are the areas where you'll find that Swahili is spoken. Now, what we will do, if you don't mind, please move to the next slide. Yeah, we will, next slide, please. Okay, yeah, so good, very good. So again, we've said it's 6 weeks. It's going to require that we have a mandatory orientation, because orientation allows us to gather important information and to give you information that you need before you travel. You don't want to go there and get surprises. You're leaving your country, going to another country, another culture. You need to be prepared. You need to be prepared psychologically, mentally, and even emotionally. So these are important things that we do. It's during the same time that we work on your visas, we work on the immunizations, we provide all that information. We talk to the hosts so that they can tell us how the situation is, so and if you have any questions you can ask at that point. We do spend 1 week at least. When we land in Tanzania, we begin in Tanzania, land in Moshi or Kilimanjaro, and then we spend 1 week there. After that, we go to Kenya. We go to the University of Nairobi, and then we go to Pwani University. These are important institutions that are our partners in Africa. And so we work with them. We spend 2 weeks, and after that, we drive to Tanzania. So we don't even need to fly. We just drive, take a route that will, about 8 hours, and we are in Dar es Salaam. Now we spend 3 weeks in Dar es Salaam so that we can complete the program. But whenever we are traveling, it is not just traveling, it is learning as we go along. And that is so important. So you see the different ethnic groups, you see the different geographical locations, and you learn a lot from just observing. So you become a participant observer, but as well as somebody who is actually learning, so that you can be enriched with the knowledge that we have there. Towards the very end, we finish with Zanzibar. And the island of Zanzibar is actually where the current Swahili standard is used. So that's exactly what we do as we go along. Now, these are important points that I need you to know. If you could please move to the next slide for me. The cost of this program is $5,900. I want to emphasize this is program fee and not the tuition that Howard University collects. What the Howard University collects is $2,900 per 3 credits. So you can see if we were going to do something like 59 and then have the tuition included, it would not match, because 5,900 is your airfare. It includes where you'll stay. It includes the food that you'll have. It includes all the excursions, the costs, all of those are included, and local transport when you're there. But it does not include tuition. That tuition is what FLAS will provide through the 5,000 that it gives. Now, in the event that we have staged, we are better placed. So just be aware that this is the program fee and not tuition that the Howard University for you to get credit. Yes, there are those people who can actually just say, oh, I don't need credit. I will just go and I'll pay 5,900, but you'll still learn and you will be able to actually benefit because you're learning the language. Our goal is to teach you the language and the culture of the people. So I just want to make sure that that is known to you. Can we go to the next slide? Now, if you have any questions, you're more than welcome to email me. The first number that you see on the screen is the one that will come to me directly via email, although it's my office number. But once you go to the voicemail, it will come to me as an email. Whatever you leave or whatever you say will be transcribed into an email. You can also contact Dr. Esther Lisanza, and we really encourage you. My email is also there. So please feel free and begin thinking about this. We want to enrich you. We want to welcome you. We want to make sure that you fully participate. Okay, so let's go to the next one. Now, the next item is a GPA, which is group program, which is usually for the advanced students. This is the Department of Education program. It is sponsored by them. They give all the monies that we need. So the university does not have to give you any money unless otherwise. So what it is that it is 8 weeks, whereas HUSSA is 6 weeks. This one is 8 weeks. The 8 weeks are all going to be in Tanzania. It is intensive. We spend 3 weeks in Moshi. So here's what happens. When the Swahili people go, we go all at the same time, the HUSSA, and the Swahili HUSSA team goes to Kenya, but the Fulbright group, which is national, in other words, everybody from different universities, they remain in Moshi for an extra 2 weeks. After those 3 weeks, they go back to Dar es Salaam. We work with the University of Dar es Salaam. The University of Dar es Salaam is in Dar es Salaam, therefore, and we take classes there. It's a host kind of program. So you go and live with the host family in the evenings, and then you come in the morning to attend classes 5 to 6 hours a day. And then we have afternoon activities that we visit different places. We visit, just those cultural events that I've also talked on the community base. So you learn by doing what other people do. This is a very important program. It is, again, as I said, sponsored by the Department of Education. It's a Fulbright, and so it's a prestigious program that I want each one of you to consider. And what is important about this is that you must be at the intermediate level. So this one, there are conditions. So I saw somebody like, if I look at the participants, if I see somebody like Margaret Kamau, I tell her, yes, this would be good for you, since you've already taken Swahili 001 up to intermediate. So now this would be a wonderful program for you. Critical for me here is to emphasize that you have to be a permanent resident or a US citizen. If you are an international student at Howard, you do not qualify for this. But for the other HUSSA program, you qualify, only that it will be out of pocket. So again, your commitment has to be Africa. Unlike HUSSA, and unlike in terms, not unlike HUSSA, unlike FLAS recipients, if you are a senior, you will still be allowed to apply to this program, provided you are among the best in the pool that we will have. It is competitive, but I believe that if you're a Howard student, I will very closely look at your application and ensure that we give you enough consideration. The most important thing is we want to build Howard program. And in order for us to do that, we encourage Howard students to be able to apply. Even though it's national, we have to show that we are also encouraging the study of African languages on our campus. Please go to the next slide. We do have orientation, and we will talk about that in the next slide. But more importantly, the cost of this program is already covered, except the administrative expenses that we have to undertake. And these are the ones where each applicant will pay a flat fee of 1,000. You pay that to the university. So a check will be, information will be provided during the orientation. A check will be sent to the university. We will credit that into your account, and then you will begin the process of getting ready. One of the things you must have, and this is when you don't wait until next year, apply for a passport for all the programs that we offer. If it's traveling abroad, please apply for a passport now. It takes maybe 1 month or 2 months, but you don't want to wait so that you begin to rush, or you don't have your visa, you don't have your birth certificate. So make sure you have this document. They're critical. Critical for me, again, is that you have to make sure that the information you provide and the information we also provide is clear to everybody involved. So immunizations are important. And again, we want to show that since this is a federally funded program, you cannot apply for FLAS and expect that it will cover the 1,000. No, these are both federal government programs, so you cannot double dip. You only receive FLAS for HUSSA, or you receive GPA for the Fulbright program. So that has to be clear. The visa costs are on you and any other expenses you might need abroad. Again, for further information and for more information, we will be having more info sessions about these programs, but feel free to contact me at the information given on the screen. Thank you. I think the next one is for Dr. Omolola. If you're there, it's your program.
Yes, Dr. Omolola.
Hi, everyone. Eka, I'm Bayo Omolola, the Program Director for Fulbright Ace Intensive Advanced Yoruba Group Project Abroad. It's a pleasure to have you here. Briefly, I want to share information with you on the program that is being sponsored by the Department of Education. So what does the program entail? Just like the Swahili GPA, we do organize a mandatory orientation. We call it pre-departure orientation, and we have a prepared handout that we do give to students so that they can know what to expect when they go to Nigeria, where the program is being hosted. The institution that hosts the program is the University of Ibadan, the premier university in the heart of the Yoruba land. So the program is a 8-week package. The student will stay with parents on the campus of the University of Ibadan. And that gives them opportunity to learn the language, to get acquainted with the cultural issues, and immerse themselves with the culture of the Yoruba. It is a 6-hour daily instructional package for students. That is, students will learn for 6 hours on the campus. There they will have an opportunity to interact with the local teachers, the instructors there, and then their language partners as well. They will also have an opportunity to have a conversation with their language partners. Each participant will have one language partner. Besides the classroom instructions that participants will be exposed to, they will also have the opportunity to mix with the people on the campus, because they go to places on the restaurants on the campus to eat. which gives them opportunity to interact, because most, 90%, if not more, of the people that are on the campus, they are Yoruba native speakers. There are cultural activities for those who go for Yoruba GPA. The cultural activities are, they get exposed to the culture in two ways, in the classroom and outside the classroom. After being taught in the classroom, or as they are being taught in the classroom, let me put it that way, at interval, they go outside, either on the campus or within Ibadan, the largest city in the Yoruba land. Then, every weekend, on Saturday, they have to travel to a significant historical and cultural site of the Yoruba, where they learn different aspects of the culture that are very significant. Such places include a place dedicated to women that are very significant. One of them is Marimi at Ife. They also travel to traditional palaces. They also travel to Osun Osogbo shrine, grove, where they learn about what is popular in the diaspora, what is also popular at home, that is in Nigeria. I say they're home because they are from Nigeria. So there are other places like natural area with waterfall. So now, to qualify for this program, it is easy, but on the following conditions. For anyone that wants to apply for it, the person must be a US citizen or a permanent resident. An undergraduate or graduate student that has taken at least 2 semesters or 4 quarters of Yoruba language courses at the intermediate, middle level, or equivalent. An applicant must submit his or her transcript to prove that he or she has taken enough courses for the program. Then 2 letters of recommendation, one of which must be written by the instructor, or the Yoruba instructor that taught the applicant. So must be submitted. Then a statement of purpose that has to highlight 2 aspects. One, the commitment to African studies. Then 2, the reason why the individual wants to study the language at the advanced level. Commitment to the language means African studies in this context. Next slide. Then, what does it cost a person to apply for this program? Well, it is almost free. The cost is provided by the Department of U.S. Department of Education through the Fulbright's grant. So, it is free, but for administrative purpose, each participant, each applicant has to pay $1,000. Then local travel, the amount that the government, the State Department of Education is releasing for the travel, that will cover international trip. But from the $1,000 cost, that will, please note that I'm looking at the slide, local travel from participants' home to the cost of local travel is the responsibility of participants. Participants have to pay for their own cost from their home to the airport. But the grant money for the travel will be covered by the money released by the Department of Education. International travel from Nigeria, the Department of Education Fulbright grant will cover that. It will cover tuition, accommodation in Nigeria, meals throughout the 8-week program, and other program-related transportation in Nigeria. It also covers materials, learning materials. So students who in the program is only going to pay $1,000, which is just for the administrative purpose. Before traveling, it is necessary for every participant to have a passport and also to get visa if one is not a citizen of Nigeria. And also, it is also compulsory for everyone to have health insurance. So it is the responsibility of everyone to get immunization and other health-related vaccinations. So travel done on the student is done on the student's own within the United States. So you cannot use, we cannot spend the travel fund, the program fund in the US. So any expenses starting from the airport to Nigeria is covered by the program fund. So next slide. If you need further information, contact me, Bayo Omalola. My contact email address is here, bayo.omalola@howard.edu. And the phone number is 202-806-5075. If you need to call me or my cell phone, I do accept that from my own, for anyone interested in Yoruba GPA. You can reach me on 443-983-0174. Thank you. If you have any question, please feel free
Okay, so we'll do questions and answers. Questions now?
Yes. Questions and answers?
Okay, Vilas. So the first question is, how can transfer students in their second year be rewarded the fellowship if they have
There is
still to
echo
take
here.
low-level classes?
Echo, could you please?
Okay.
Could you repeat that again?
It's actually in the chat, if you can see that.
The question is, how can transfer students in their second year be rewarded the fellowship if they still have to take low-level classes?
Willa, do you want to take that?
So in terms of if you're a transfer student, as long as you have already taken your African languages, at least one course in African language, you can still apply for the FLAS, but you've got to demonstrate that you've already taken the African language. So as long as you have a transcript that shows that you already have taken an African language, then you're eligible. Now, there may be a requirement in terms of the language teacher. If you want to get into an advanced language, they may require you to take a test. But what we want to see is that you've already had at least one semester of an African language to qualify for a FLAS. Now, the GPA qualification is different, but that's specifically for the FLAS. And I can see some of the questions here myself. So if a FLAS fellow plans to study abroad, but then travel is not allowed, can they change their plans and register for summer courses at Howard? Yes. As a matter of fact, we encourage you to register for summer programs at Howard. Leonard, Dr. Mwaka, why don't you talk a little bit more about what we're planning for if we don't have travel abroad? And you can tune in, Dr. Amolo.
Okay, very good. So I just want people to know that in this summer, we're going to have an African Language Institute that will be at Howard. We are going to offer those courses that are going to, the normal summer courses, but this will be an institute. The tentative dates are May 17th to July 21st, but we are still fine tuning that. The critical point that you have to remember is it's going to be intensive. So we want to cover this in 6 weeks. That means in a day, it will mirror what happens abroad. So you're about 4 or 5 hours per day, 5 days, and then we'll have activities. But FLAS recipients could qualify for this. We are making this available to our students because just in case people don't travel and it becomes difficult, this is a wonderful, wonderful opportunity for you to immerse yourself in the language. And we'll mirror things that are done also abroad, just to make sure that everybody knows. So we're going to offer this. We are, I hope some of you know that we have now Somali as a new language. We do have Amharic, we do have Swahili, Yoruba, all of these languages. But we're going to put out that information pretty soon. Our media specialist, Anya, will be putting out that information pretty soon.
Great. The next question is, do I qualify for FLAS if I'm a recipient of the military GI Bill for veterans?
Okay, so I don't see any reason why. First, congratulations. I think that's from Jean Claude. Congratulations in your service to our country. There is, I believe, no restriction for someone who's on the GI Bill to qualify for a FLAS. But we can check on that. But right now, I think you would qualify. And that's assuming, by the way, that you meet the other qualifications in terms of African language study.
Great. The next question is American no longer being offered as a summer program?
Dr. Mwaka, maybe you can address that.
Just so you know, only when it comes to study abroad, that's when we haven't quite developed one as of now. It's been there intermittently, but we want to say that in terms of the institute, it could be offered. So we're still working out those aspects, and we'll let you know. But yes, almost all the languages we have will be offered in some fashion. So we do offer Amharic in the summer.
Okay, next question. Can I still apply for the FLAS if I'm an advanced Somali?
Oh, yes. And where would you want to? Yes. So is this student saying she or he is already advanced in Somali?
I would assume so. Let me find the question.
Yeah. So the question would be, yes, you definitely need to increase your proficiency. That's why you're applying, because the essence of any of these language offerings is to give you more proficiency so that you can actually function. And we have advanced, we have distinguished, and then we have superior. So we have all of these levels. If you want to go up to the very highest and we can offer you, why not? And this is why, including the programs we have, if you can study abroad, I will be giving you that highest level that maybe is not offered at Howard. But yes, we encourage you to remember, provided you identify the right program and where this is going to be applied.
Okay, great. Next question. If someone applied for FLAS last semester and deferred, do they still need to reapply?
Yes.
I'll take that. So if you applied for FLAS, you still need to reapply. However, you're going to be given a preference. So if you were previously awarded a FLAS, you still need to demonstrate that you're still eligible now. However, your application will be put up at the front of the application process and will be processed before all the other students. So your preference is that you are, if you were deferred, yes, you must apply to indicate that you're still interested and that you still qualify, but you will be given first preference.
Yeah, just to make sure that we are clear on that, if you defer, because for those who applied, they were asked to respond by a certain date and indicate whether they would still be available and whether they were deferring their award. So that's exactly what we say, but you have to still show to us that you're still at Howard and you're still intending to continue with your plans as had been indicated earlier.
Okay, last question. When will the next info sessions be taking place?
We haven't scheduled the next info session, but I would imagine it will be within in January, probably the second week in January.
Yeah, we're planning alongside this type of info session for FLAS in general. Specific languages will have info sessions again once we come back. Classes begin on the 19th, so I can anticipate around just before the end of the month we'll have an info session and another info session in February, because our deadline will also be pushed into February because of we want to really match the deadline for this application, because sometimes we have confusion when do we know whether we have been accepted or not. The most important thing is before you are awarded or even considered, you have to show that you have been accepted into a program. So that's important for us to make sure that our deadline for language programs is a little earlier or just slightly close to that deadline of FLAS application. So we will have at least 2 sessions before the deadline.
Dr. Amalola, will you be also having info sessions?
Say that again. Could you please say that again?
Will you be having more info sessions also?
I still don't get you.
I'm sorry, will you be having
Will you be talking to
sessions?
students in 2021 to give them more information about this?
Oh, yes. I was at, before I answer that question, I got a private chat from one of the participants here. For the participant that has about HUSSA and Swahili GPA, the student is why doesn't Yoruba have the second one? So the center and the Department of World Languages are doing things gradually. So more opportunities will come. So that is the answer to that. Yes, we don't have any new thing other than what has been said, because we are in an uncertain, at a time of uncertainty. So the more we have information from the Department of Education, the more we will be able to know what to tell you regarding the program, the Yoruba GPA. Did I answer the question?
In a way, yes. That means information will be upcoming as it becomes available. But specifically, if we will be sending out information or email so that people can have these info sessions. And that's what we said for Swahili. Yes, definitely there will be info sessions as well as for the general FLAS and other opportunities. So we will be able to host similar platforms in the near future. And obviously, once we come back after the 19th.
Maybe Leonard, you can also speak to why.
Okay, I see the question. Yes, that's a good question.
You can speak to why.
The reason Swahili has had the HUSSA program since 2006. That is quite a number of years if you look at that. We are a program, the university program, and therefore we must continue to offer that. The GPA programs are funded by the federal government. There are years we won't have the GPA, but we must always have HUSSA because that's our signature program. As Dr. Mulula said, as it becomes available and it's possible, maybe we'll have a Yoruba program that is not necessarily dependent on the federal government funding. This is where we work hard and make sure that each of our languages has a, an experiential kind of learning. And that's why we do encourage study abroad programs. Once one is developed and fully functional, we will let you know.
Thank you, Dr. Maka.
I think that's all. If there are no other questions, I want to just thank you all for attending the information session. Thank you, Dr. Mwaka. Thank you, Dr. Omolola. And thank you, our great host, Ms. Anya, for being there to help us through this, the milieu of figuring this all out. Please stay tuned for other information sessions, and please go to the website, register, log in, and begin to complete your application for FLAS. Have a good holiday, be safe, and everyone take care. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
All right.